Good morning, assalamu alaikum from wherever you're listening to us. As I mentioned before, when I open up the show with the monologue, you're not listening to the wrong radio station. You're still tuned into Salam Media. My name is Salailo. I'm a familiar voice in the station if you're a regular listener, but if you're not, just keep on listening. I'll be chatting. I'll be sharing a bit about what I've been doing on the station for about 5 years now. But for now, we'll be focusing on our big story. We'll be talking to Dr. Sheena Swemmer. She's the head of gender justice program at the Center for Applied Legal Studies at Wits University. She'll be telling us a bit about pervasive obstetric violence and which South African hospitals are guilty of it. Good morning, Dr. Swemmer. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, and you?
I'm well. I'm well. First and foremost, just shed a bit of light before we get into the nitty gritties of this issue. What is pervasive obstetric violence? Um, how do you define it? From the research that you've made and your involvement in the Center for Applied Legal Studies at Wits, which hospitals have you guys identified that have been guilty of this violence, essentially?
Yeah. So the easiest way to explain what obstetric violence is that we look at it as violence that occurs in and around the period of pregnancy and postpartum, so after pregnancy. So we see violations such as physical abuse, verbal abuse, discrimination. We have procedures that are occurring without the individual's consent. We have unnecessary procedures, and then we have, in some instances, forced procedures. So that's the easiest way to really describe obstetric violence. But when we look at something like systemic and pervasive obstetric violence, it's not only violations that are occurring by a singular doctor, so this or a singular nurse. It is occurring in all hospitals, and that answers your question with regards to which hospitals. It's occurring in all hospitals across the country and in many hospitals across the world. And it's really based on a discrimination against women, discrimination and violence against women. So when we see or say that it is systemic, it is not only individuals that are committing these acts, but it's how systems allow this to happen. So with regards to Rahima Musa, which I looked at, it's systems where we have lack of funding for services around pregnancy, around obstetric care. And then it's also systems such as our legal systems and our systems of accountability, where we don't see accountability for anything, for violations with regards to obstetric violence.
I think what really stood out for me as I was reading the piece that you wrote around this is the fact that obstetric violence was only thrust into public awareness in 2022. So before that, there was essentially no legislature, no law, or any kind of knowledge. That thrust this issue forward, that made people understand that there's this problem happening in our hospitals. Is that the case where things just happening in hospitals and no one would take accountability for them, or even the victims of the violence themselves not knowing where to report them?
Yeah, so what I should note is that when it was thrust into the public awareness or the public space, so that was after the Commission for Gender Equality released a report about forced sterilization. But when we say it was forced into the public knowledge and there were legal systems or legal accountability around this, is that we still don't really have legislation dealing with obstetric violence. So that's just something that's important to note, is that it really just still falls under misconduct, or around, if you can fit it under any kind of criminal law, like assault, it falls under that. So although we now are aware that this thing that has been occurring for many years has a name, and it's obstetric violence, we still really don't have any type of proper legal provisions around this.
I want us to focus a bit on the case study here, the Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital. What are some of the cases that stand out for you there? And is there anything happening? Are any people being held accountable? With with how you involved also with the center, how are these victims getting any kind of assistance?
So with regard to Rahima Musa, it's most of what I encountered came from the Health Ombuds report. So some of the really problematic, and I still have to say it's pervasive. It's not just happening at Rahima Musa. It's happening all over. Is things such as individuals not having beds, which we hear about with regards to our hospitals a lot. But what really struck me was that in the one instance, it was that individuals had to sit on chairs, around the time of giving birth, which is hugely problematic. But because these individuals were seated on chairs instead of in beds, the doctors were not performing thorough checks, and they would only refer to their files to kind of consult and see what kind of treatment these individuals needed. So you can see a huge lapse in the professional integrity, but also the endangerment of both the women's lives and the lives of their unborn children. So for me, that was definitely a highlight of both these kind of structural problems, how our structural problems intersect with the obstetric violence, is that when we don't have proper funding, when funding is gone because of corruption, it really affects the most vulnerable individuals. And this is pregnant individuals and their unborn children.
I just want to ask this quick question. Maybe you can ask it when you come back after the break. I mean, an organization such as the HPCSA, wouldn't they be involved in this? These are medical workers, that are, basically it's medical malpractice. Would the HPCSA be involved? Are they involved? And would they be an organization that you'd go to and report these injustices essentially that are happening against women? You're going to have to answer that after the break. We're going to take a quick break, just a word from our sponsors, and then we're going to continue with Dr. Swemmer after this.
To Salam Media Live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness. And every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and Freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za For more information, Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
This Ramadan, spread the winds of generosity across the world. Al-Imdad Foundation. Sponsor a food hamper for just 800 Rand and help us deliver essential food aid supplies to struggling families across 40 countries globally. Let's feed the fasting this Ramadan. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Salam Media, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
Welcome back. The time is 24 minutes past 8. We're still chatting to Dr. Swemmer, head of the Gender Justice Program at the Center for Applied Legal Studies at Wits University. We're talking about obstetric violence and, what is it and which hospitals in South Africa are guilty of it. Dr. Swemmer, before we went to the break, I asked you about the HPCSA, their involvement. Which role can they play in mitigating this issue? Are they involved in any way? Has there been communication with them? Are they aware of this?
Well, with regards to Rahima Musa, I'm not entirely sure if they have been contacted or if they're dealing with it. I definitely think they are aware of it. The HPCSA is aware of obstetric violence. I mean, we've communicated with them before. We've even referred cases to them. With regards to the accountability, I wouldn't venture to say that the accountability fits the crime per se. I don't think the accountability meets the severity of the actions. So with regards to some of the instances we've seen, there really hasn't been a stern reckoning or any kind of severe sanction of doctors around this. And when we have a system that doesn't acknowledge, doesn't hold accountable individuals in a sufficient way, it allows this to continue and it allows this to spread. So the HPCSA is definitely aware of obstetric violence, but the severity of the accountability is lacking.
I just have a few comments from our listeners there. I just wonder if you'd be able to answer. We have one from a listener in Lenasia. He's asking, how different is obstetric violence from medical malpractice? That's the first question. And then the second question is actually from someone who's had an experience at one of our provincial hospitals in Gauteng. The message says, I gave birth at one of our provincial hospitals in Gauteng in 2021. I remember being in heavy pains and ignored by the nurses until I had no option but to give birth at the benches of the hospital. My baby fell to the ground by her head, and luckily nothing major happened to her. What recourse do I have if I want to take this matter up? I think a very important question there, and I think a question that you'd be able to answer, Dr. Swemmer.
Okay, so to begin with is, how is this different to medical malpractice? So when we speak about obstetric violence, what you have to really think of it as is being part of our umbrella of gender-based violence. Mm-hmm. So we have discrimination against pregnant women. So it's taking on more of the features of discriminatory behavior against women, like we see with rape crimes, we see it with domestic violence in the home. This has been found around the world to exist as a form of discrimination. So although we would ordinarily say this can be under medical malpractice, what we have to acknowledge is this is discrimination. So this is actions based on discrimination rather than, and I'm not downplaying acts of medical malpractice, but it's how this is tainted by discrimination against women rather than being a mere act of negligence per se. So instead of thinking of it as medical malpractice in its normal sense, it really falls under our gender-based violence crimes. And then with regards to the second individual, what I would do is I would get hold of Kels, so you can look us up online, or you can look me up online, and you can email us, and we can definitely assist you in the process of getting some form of recourse. But this is, and as the individual has said, you can now see this is prevalent. This is happening everywhere. And if you ask individuals in your families, individuals in your community about their experiences around giving birth in our country, you will often hear these very haunting, terrible stories of what these individuals have endured.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Swemmer. I'm going to have to let you go for now. But really, an important issue that you bring into light there, obstetric violence. We'll be catching. I know we'll be speaking again. I mean, we just ran out of time a bit. But in some cases, there were people that were forced into coerced sterilization. Women living with HIV and AIDS. So I think that's another angle to look out there. But for now, thank you so much for giving us your time, and enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. Obstetric violence being brought to the forefront there. A really important issue, and I think an issue that needs a bit more attention than it is getting. As Dr. Swemmer mentioned there, that a lot of women have these harrowing stories. I mean, especially people that go to public hospitals, public institutions of health. They'll always tell you about, especially women, about how, they have to give birth on the benches, on the floor, some having to share beds and, not having that privacy. And you can just imagine this is a private and really special time that you should be observing and enjoying, in a sense, bringing a life into the world. But then all of that is tainted by that kind of violence, obstetric violence. And so, yeah, really scary stuff. But yeah, we're going to wrap this one up. Coming up next, we'll be speaking to Mr. Zwane. He's with the Competition Commission. He's the economist at the Competition Commission. He'll be talking to us about rising food prices and how they have prompted an investigation at the Competition Commission because they're unjustified. I can tell you firsthand. I've experienced it this weekend when I went shopping, and it was not nice. Things are just too expensive. We're thinking it's inflation, it's the war in Ukraine, but it turns out it's not. Food producers in South Africa are increasing food prices, and it's not justified. So we'll be talking about the recourse of that and how it can be mitigated after this.